Okay, so for today's fluency, you need to select all the expressions that are equal to the product of 18 and 2/10 and 23 hundredths. So we have this word product, and we know that product means we need to multiply. So we're going to start off by multiplying. Remember, our first rule when we are multiplying is to take out the decimals, meaning we have to rewrite that number without decimal points. So I'm going to put my 18 and then the 2 after it. I'm going to actually slide that up. And then I'm going to do times. And I'll write 23. And make my line. 3 times 2, and I begin to multiply. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 8. 3 times 8, 4. So put my 4. And then I bring up my 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 2 I just brought up is 5. So that means that I'm done with my 3, so I'm going to cross it off. But I need to stay in line with my place value of the tens because of the 2. So I put a 0 in the 1 spot, or the 1's place value. And then I would do 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 8 is 16. So I put my 6 and bring up my 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And then I add my 2 products that I got. So add those 2 up. So I have, oops, let's slide that over. I have 6 plus 0, which is 6. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 5 is 11. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now I got to count in my original problem how many numbers are behind my decimal point. I have a 2, I have a 2 and a 3. So I'm highlighting 3 numbers. So that means I have, give me my circle. Get a little bigger so I can type in it. So I have 3 times, I have to move that decimal point. So I put it behind the 6 because it's a whole number, and I swoop that many times. Swoop 1, swoop 2, swoop 3. So my number, or my final product, is 4 and 186 thousandths. So now I'm looking for which numbers here, or which letters equal that exact same answer, and then I'll circle them. So the A says the product of 20 and 93 hundredths and 2/10. So again, here's my word, product. So product tells me I'm multiplying. So my first step is to write those without decimals. So I put 2, 0, you won't have to do this, but so 2, 0, 9, 3, and then the 2 below it. And then I start multiplying it out. Draw my line down. 2 times 3 is 6. And I'll move that line over for us because we do not want it in the other row. 2 times 9 is 18. bring up the 1. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Don't get stumped on that one. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have to count how many numbers are behind my decimal point. I have a 9 and a 3. Those green. And then I have a 2. And I'm going to highlight green. And that is 3 numbers. I got a 9, a 3, and a 2. So that's 3 numbers. So I'm going to put 3 in my little bubble. And that tells me I have to do 3 swoops. So I put my decimal point at the end. Since I put the decimal point at the end, swoop 1, swoop 2, swoop 3. So I got, and I'll move that 4 over a little bit. So I got 4.186. And looking at my answer, I have 4.186. So that is correct. So I'm going to circle A. And now I'm going to move on to the difference between 3 and 74 hundredths and 446 thousandths. So the difference is, that's our important word here. So we need to know that difference means to subtract. So when we subtract, it's a little bit different than when we're multiplying because we need to make sure we line up our digits and our decimal points. So I put 3.74, and then I put my decimal point down, and I have a 0 in the ones place value, so I'm going to put a 0 in the ones place value. I have a 4 in the tenths place value, so the 4 lines up with the tenths. I got a 4 in the hundredths. And then I have a 6 in the thousandths. So I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder in the thousandths place because I want to make sure I subtract in the right order. So then I subtract. Draw my line down. Okay. Slide it over. I'm going to drop my decimal point down. Drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. Because when we subtract, we drop it down. 0 minus 6, we can't do. So that 4 becomes a 3. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 minus 4, I can't do. So that 7 becomes a 6. That 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 4, so that's 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, so I get 9. 6 minus 4 is 2. 3 minus 0 is 3. So looking here, 3.294, and then I have 4.186, not the same. So let's move on to C. It says the sum of 2 and 38 hundredths, 1 and 2 tenths, and 88 hundredths. Okay, sum, that's our important word here. Sum means we need to add. So when we add decimals, remember we line up our digits and our decimal points. So I have 2.38. I have 1 in the ones place value, so I put that in the place value of ones. I put my decimal point down, and I have a 2 in my tenths place value, so I put my 2 in the tenths place value. And then I look at my next number. I have a 0 in the ones place value. I bring my decimal, lining it up. I have an 8 in my tenths place value, so I put my 8 in the tenths place value. And I have an 8 in the hundredths place value, so I put an 8 in the hundredths place value. I'm going to put a 0 in the hundredths place value of my 1.2 just because I want to make sure I'm adding the correct numbers together. So then I'm going to make my line. I'm going to know I'm adding. When I add, I need to drop down that decimal point. Drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. When we add and subtract, we drop it down. 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 3 is 13. 13 plus 1 is 14. bring up the 1. 1 plus 2 is 2. I'm sorry, 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. So we have now our new answer, 4.46. Looking up here, I have 4.186. Not the same. So we're not circling C either. And then the last one says, find the difference between 2 and 52 hundredths and 1 and 666 thousandths. So I have the word difference. That's my key word. I know difference means we're subtracting. And when I subtract, I line up my digits and I line up my decimal point. So I have 2.52. And then I need to line up my decimal points, so I put my decimal point. I have 1 in the ones place, so I put the 1 in the ones place. I have a 6 in the tenths place, so I put the 6 in the tenths place. I have a 6 in the hundredths place, so I put a 6 in the hundredths place. And I also have a 6 in the thousands place, so I'm putting a 6 in the thousands place. I need another line. I'll have that line up there for you, so you won't have to worry about doing that. So I have a line, so I put my line. I'm going to be subtracting. But looking here, I have no number above the 6, so as a placeholder, I'm putting a 0, so I can subtract. Before I start subtracting, I need to make sure to drop my decimal point straight on down, so I'm going to drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. And then I have 0 minus 6. I can't do that, so that 2 becomes a 1. So 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 1 minus 6 I can't do, so that 5 becomes a 4. And then 1 becomes an 11. Eleven minus 6 is 5. 4 minus 6 I can't do, so that 2 becomes a 1. And the 4 becomes a 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So right there, that's my answer. It's not the same, so I cannot circle D. So the only one I'm circling is A.